What's going on, good people? How you doing? This is Milton Spence on Milt's Coaching Corner. I'm happy to be here with y'all. On a sad note, though, lost my uncle Stephen Bell, the other day. So I am dedicating this episode to him. We will make it through this together, and we will do this with him in mind. And it is crazy because he actually inspired this episode in a way where it came right on time. So when I wrote down all of my episodes before, I wrote them down to, go in some type of order. But I was led by God in order to switch these around, so I did. And lo and behold, here I am with my Uncle Steve's episode as this one. It goes hand in hand with him and I's life story, considering the fact that there were some challenges in the sense of, me getting older, not having my father, but having, father-like figures, one being him, my Uncle John, and so on and so forth, whether they were in my life, completely or whatever. But what I want to do is dedicate this episode to him in a way where I also make it personal in how him and I either benefited from these things as far as what today's episode is or did not. So let's jump into exactly what the episode is about. Today's episode is the importance of I'm tongue-tied today. The importance of self-awareness in personal growth. Now, I believe it is a man's complete in this society, his complete misogynistic nature to only grow based upon what society has put on him to do. I do believe that men have the ability to be able to go beyond leaps and bounds and do things in a place in a way that go further than what we have been taught, go further than what we have been exposed to, go further than who and what is and what isn't manhood in our lives. I also believe that men have the ability to be able to shapeshift and do things where we don't necessarily have to take responsibility because society tells us that we get to be a certain way or get to do a certain thing. And I believe what ends up happening with that is we put ourselves in a position as men to fail early and often, to the point where people have sympathy, and in some points where they don't have the sympathy. So we never learn. And what I mean by that is we only learn once we get older and it's time to settle down and maybe find that one person or find ourselves. This, as the saying goes, a man lives two lives, the one he's born with and the one when he realizes that he only has one left. And most of the time, a lot of men don't realize that until it's too late. I don't want to speak on women in that regard, due to the fact that I'm not one. I would be fair. Now I can speak on human things, right? But we're going to focus solely on the male in relation to my uncle and myself. So first and foremost, when it comes down to personal growth, I believe it's tied to many things such as the nature of a man, the spirituality of him, the mentality of him, how he's able to, shape nuance, put things in perspective, have a sort of gift in order to relay things to his mate, his partner, his man, his woman, his whatever. It is a man's innate nature to understand himself, but what ends up happening is that personal growth becomes a backseat due to the fact that it is also a man's nature to answer a call. So if men are put in a position to answer many calls and do things that, society says we must, then we are pretty much foregoing ourselves in order to do what society is looking for. Society is always looking for a man to have the answers in many different ways and have the answers in how to labor, how to make money, how to. And the truth is, men don't have those answers without women. And they also don't have those answers without personal growth. So the reason I said women is because that's who we come from. No matter if that person was a mother to you or not, fact is you came from a woman, right? You were conceived between the two, but you came from a woman. And what that means for you is that you have the ability to be able to grow, but if you grow so much on your masculine side and not too much on your feminine side, then you have lacked in personal growth. If you also go to a point of being a man where you're trying to understand yourself in one side over the other, you've also missed out on the opportunity for personal growth. I, for one, have been of the school of hard knocks, where I have learned personal growth through knocking my head on walls when it comes to the masculine and the feminine. And what I mean by that is not that I don't understand my masculinity or anything like that, but when it comes to it, if I'm not in tune and in touch with my feminine side, I also find myself in a position where I'm not able to coaxial, aka put together, aka have a point of the life that I'm living or living in general. I'm able to have some type of an array or have some type of way in order to get to points where I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I think I'm going in the right direction. And so because of that, it causes me as a man to harbor relationships with people that may or may not be the best for me due to the fact that I don't necessarily know what it is from them that I am needing. And that is because I don't take time to look inside. Now, as a person who is growing constantly, I will tell you that it is getting better for me that I am taking opportunities to look inside of myself and not so much to the outside in, but the inside out, in order to understand and figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing and who it is that I'm supposed to be doing with, where, how, all of that, right? And I believe that it behooves a man to put himself in a position where manhood becomes a thing of the past in the sense of how it's defined. And it becomes something that he has to define by finding and searching within himself who and what he's supposed to be without the coaxial, right, of society, but more so the array of everything he's made up to be, appreciating and accepting himself to be more than just a fixation of a sex symbol or a fixation of knowledge or a fixation of what it is that he quote unquote brings to said table. I believe it benefits every man and woman for that man to bring to the table exactly what it is that he brings to the table. But the only way you know that is if you grow. So talking about it in a sense of solution means that you have to put yourself in a position now where you are willing to grow beyond exponential range, beyond the factors of boredism, right? Steps 1, steps 2. We talk about that often on here because we have a misnomer that men must follow steps. Men are pioneers. Men are warriors. Men are teachers. Men are many different things. This is not to say that women are not, but this is a focus point, guys. This is a focus point. So men having these things and having these ways and these arrays of thoughts and these are ways of being means that they are closer to God only if they get closer to God. Meaning if they give themselves over to God, then they have the ability to be able to understand exactly who they are, because it says man was created in God's image. Now, man being mankind, meaning that mankind was created in God's image, but a woman, per the story in the Bible, she was created from a man, which is also in God's image. So she is nowhere short of that. It just means that a man is missing something when he does not have the right woman with him. He's missing a rib. And we already know that the body needs every part to it in order to function correctly. Correctly meaning properly. So yeah, you can miss a rib, but you also have an exposed space. You have an exposed space, and most of the time that exposed space is the one that leads right to your heart. So gentlemen, when it comes down to your personal growth, and ladies, when it comes down to a man's personal growth, you have to understand it is of him and it behooves him to look within. Now, how does that tie into Milton's uncle and him? Well, my uncle and I never really had a relationship that I could draw upon and say it was a great relationship. It was awesome. You know, when he passed, it did hurt me, considering I grew up around the man. I grew to love him and take care of him in some ways by the sense of giving him advice when I became older and talking to him man to man. It helped me learn something, helped me see that this was a man who not only was devoid of maybe the importance of family, but was also in need of the importance of family. So he built his own. When he built his own, he built it the best way that he knew how. He built it how he knew how. Now, whether it was right or wrong is not here, neither here nor there, due to the fact that that man is now gone. But I will say this, being my uncle, one thing I loved about him was that he always had a sense of humor and he was always willing to be himself. I can appreciate that about him. What I wish would have happened between him and I was that he helped me to understand my personal growth, and hopefully that would have helped him understand his personal growth. Now that sounds selfish, and the reason it is selfish is because I never received it. The reason it sounds selfish because I never received it. Now I understand that may come off as a place where I don't necessarily need to be or come or go or whatever. So I'm not going to stick on that topic for long, but I will say, man to man, person to person, I wish that us gentlemen would get with each other and help each other grow. And I know that is utopia. Starting your family. There's a young man right now in your family who could use your assistance, right? Because life kicks you, man, and it kicks you in the teeth, and it doesn't hold back. And so a lot of times men receive their advice from women or by watching other men. And then they have to filter in and out what it is that a man is and isn't. So because they have to filter this in and out, they wind up in a place, in a space where they don't necessarily know who they are. Who am I? This man says. What am I? The man says. So I ask that any and everybody, any and every woman, any and every man under the sound of my voice, take time out to get to know the young men in your family, because those young men one day will grow up to lead masses, and they will grow up to have a family, and they will grow up to lead people. And because they will grow up to do those things, they need to have a foundation. They need personal growth. They can't have anything without it. They can't have anything without it. Now, moving on to the next thing I wanted to cover with you guys is the relationships. The relationships part of it is deep and is fully in depth, considering, right? It is deep and fully in depth considering. The relationship aspect of this means that a man has to have a relationship not only with self, but have a relationship with those who made and molded him, i.e. mom, grandma, and so on and so forth. He has to have those relationships. And the reason he has to have those relationships because, like I said before, X and Y chromosomes are there for a reason. A man has no ability to do it on his own. No matter how many of you guys out there are tough, no matter how many of you guys out there are strong, I promise you there will come a time when you will break down and you will say, I need help. And if you do not do that, your pride has gotten the best of you. Your pride has gotten the best of you. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask all gentlemen, please, if you would, don't let your pride get the best of you. Do not allow yourself to go through life spending money and time on pride in order to seem more like a man. Yeah. When it comes down to women, right? And I want to talk on this. I want to speak on this. This is deep. When it comes down to women, the man's relationship with a woman is as good as his relationship with himself. If he cheats, it means he's cheating himself. If he lies, that means he's lying to himself. If he does anything to this woman, that means he's doing it himself. A man who is totally together with himself is a man who comes to a woman and treats her as he treats himself. He loves her as he loves himself. He takes care of her as he takes care of himself. He can only do as good and what's good that comes out of him. That's within him. He can only do that. And I think I messed that up, but he can only do what comes out of him, that which is within him. That is, which is within him. Yeah. So when it boils down to it, every man and every woman has the ability to be able to be good. and to be the ability and to be able to be bad. So I will say this, men, if you're bad, if you're listening to this, when it comes down to your love, when it comes down to your children, when it comes down to any and everything, I'm asking, men, I'm asking you, please, 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 if you would, take the time out to love yourself, love your neighbor, love your mama, and love everybody. The reason I say that is because there's a lot of people, a lot of men in particular, who have the need for love and who have the need for peace. Now, those on the video podcast are seeing me mess with the camera at this moment. The reason being it's got knocked off. I made a mistake and kicked it with my big old feet. But nevertheless, here we are. We're back. So, listen to me carefully, gentlemen. Men, when it boils down to it, you are not the sum of parts. You are not the sum of relationships. You are not the sum of the women that you choose. What she has on has nothing to do with you. How she looks has nothing to do with you. What you portray yourself has nothing to even do with you, because it is a portrayal. You have the need to be authentic. You need to be a man. You need to feel that. You need to know what it is, because if you deprive yourself of any parts of yourself, only thing you're doing is hurting everybody around you. You're hurting that woman, because a woman needs a man. She does not need anything other than that from you, man. If she is looking for a man, correct? If she's looking for a man, chances are she may or may not know what that is. She may try to define that based upon the men that she's had experience with, and that's all pretty much she can do. But if she's a wise woman, that means she will accept you for who you are and understand that your manhood, who you are as a man, is going to express itself totally different. But she should be able to see the authenticity within you. My guy, she should be able to see the authenticity within you, to see that not only are you a man, but you're authentic to yourself. You're doing exactly what it is that you honestly want to do, and you're not playing any games. You're not doing anything that doesn't line up to who and what you are. You're not going around the world. You're literally doing exactly what you should and being exactly the way you need to be in order to operate within your manhood, in order to operate within not just your manhood, but operate within the space of time and presence that is necessary for you to be said man. Now, I will say this, right? We put a lot of emphasis on manhood and being tough and all of these things, but the truth is, men are not tough. Men are brought through situations that make them tough. Men are not bred like that most of the time. So those of you who are tough guys, understand that you got that way for a reason. Being totally hard and callous doesn't benefit anybody either. So you have to understand there is a balance to it. Total intellect, total appreciation of love, total appreciation of mind. Be a man. Stand up, step up, be yourself. Never let anybody define you. Never let anybody define you. Never let anybody define you. You understand me? I said that 3 different times due to the fact that there's a lot of gentlemen out here, even right now, as I speak, who are allowing other men to put the value on them of what manhood is, and that man has no idea what manhood is when it comes from you. Remember, you are unique for a reason. You are yourself for a reason. You are a snowflake, right? Not in the sense of being soft, but you are a snowflake, because snowflakes are unique. Unique. Imagine how many snowflakes fall on Earth every year. On Earth, not your state, but on Earth. And how many of them are the same? Now, if you have the mind like I do, then you say, well, maybe they do have some that are the same. You know, maybe they do. How would I know that? But per scientific research, no 2 snowflakes are alike. Are you the same as me? No. Have you gone through the things I've gone through? Maybe. But are we the same? No. So it behooves you to be yourself, and it behooves you, gentlemen, not just to find friends and have relationships with people who are like you and people who are above your pay grade or whatever, or thinkers or whatever. It behooves you to be friends with the people who you're meant to be friends with, even if it's hard. Doing what's necessary in your life, having a relationship with yourself that is necessary, means that you will do things that are hard. You will do things that are tough. You will do things that will put you in a position where you do not want to be. You will constantly do things that harm and hurt your feelings. You will also always be in a position where you have to think, and you have to be sharp on your feet, and you have to have knowledge. So as a man, it behooves you to not only read the room, but read yourself and read books and read things that will help you become astute to the knowledge of being yourself. Right? So a lot of gentlemen are attached to a job, right? I'm this type of man because I work here. Let me tell you something. The relationship you have with your job, your money, all of that is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. There's a lot of gentlemen who make a lot of money, right? And are depressed as well because they have no real relationship that's well-rounded. Sure, they've made the money, but where's the extra parts of themselves? Once you get the money, then what else happens, right? Right? What else happens? Okay, moving on. Now, I want to offer you guys some practical tips when it comes down to these things. And it's a pretty short episode, I guess, because my uncle passed. And I just want to give him some time to breathe, right, through this. And give him the opportunity to be able to stand up here before you, because I'm his bloodline. Be able to stand up here before you and tell you that I love you, that I miss you, and that I will always be with you. Uncle Steve, your daughters will be taken care of. We love you, and we will look after your bloodline, because it is our bloodline. So, and when I say taken care of, it's not just monetarily or anything like that. I mean that in the sense of looking out for, speaking to, whatever it takes in order to help, right? And it's not just monetarily. I mean, it's not just monetarily, because they need so much more than that. So, and I don't know what I would do if I left my kids here. Obviously, I would be gone, but I'm just thinking about that. And to be honest with you guys, it is very sad, because I wanted to be able to have that relationship with him, to be able to grow up and knowing that I have a man to have my back. Just a guy, to understand how to be a man, to understand what I'm doing here. The reason I have this podcast is because, honestly, I have a lot on my mind, a lot of things I think about. I believe that I always question why, right? I always have a why in my mind about any and everything. And I don't really ask why when it comes to somebody passing, but what I do ask is, why is it in their life, right, did they leave stones unturned? Why is it in their life that they do this? Why? I ask those questions not because I want to judge. It is because I want to understand. It may sound judgmental, but it's because I want to understand. So let me jump into some practical tips. The face we are blessed with is not to be taken at face value, just like this life. Gentlemen, if you're taking things for face value, the first thing you are doing is making a mistake and falling into the trap, right? Because a lot of men have fallen into the trap of women based upon not really studying the woman. Let me explain. When it comes to a woman, you have to beseech her in such a way that you are willing to look beyond her faults and flaws to see the real person. Because a lot of times the faults and flaws of a woman is not who and what she is. It is a defense mechanism put up due to the fact that that woman does not necessarily know how to regulate. When I talk about regulate, I'm talking about her emotions. She doesn't know how to put them in check. She doesn't know how to help herself. And because she doesn't know how to help herself, she puts you, my guy, in a position where now you're trying to figure out exactly who and what this woman is, and how can I help her put herself in a better position where she does not have to be so emotional. And I'm telling you guys, you can't do it. The only thing you can do is look beyond, right? Look beyond, look deep, beyond, okay? To see exactly who and what she is. When you do that, you will help yourself immensely. Gentlemen have been dying left and right based upon their relationship with women. Okay? The reason that the woman is so heavily coveted and so heavily used against you because she is supposed to be your rib. If you do not have your rib, that means you are left unprotected. If you cannot protect yourself, then you cannot protect the woman. If the woman is not protected by the man, then society goes to shit, right? So when society goes to that, then we as men are left to pick up the pieces. But what do? We turn our back and we say we don't want to deal with that because we as a collective lack personal growth. We lack self-awareness, we lack love, and we lack compassion. Now, if I had to sum up a man in all parts, it is a man who is a well-balanced masculine and feminine man. Masculine and feminine doesn't necessarily mean mannerisms. It means masculine and feminine. What I can't figure out for the life of me is why some gentlemen are running away from their purpose, me included. Considering that the purpose that we have is something that is going to make us great, not just monetarily, but going to make us great in the sense of who and what we are. And when I said I'm running from my purpose, I mean it, right? Because it takes a lot to accept it. When you accept it, I know that life will be better and easier. And the great part about it is I'm telling you guys that I'm running from it because I am accepting it step by step. The fears that I have are that I will not succeed, aka imposter syndrome, right? And that goes into my next thing, where men, we have imposter syndrome to the point where we start to put on for our boys and be a certain way. The truth is we don't need to do that. The truth is all we need to do is be ourselves. Yes, we can get picked on. Yes, we can be misunderstood. Yes, we can mistakenly hurt others. Yes. All of those things are a fact. But one thing we cannot do is run away from who and what we are, because the more you run away, the more you put yourself in position to never have it, and also put yourself in a position to pass it down to maybe your son or a relative. And you don't want to do that, because your stones left unturned mean that you have allowed a legacy for yourself to not be built amongst your family and friends, not for recognition, not for love joys, not for, oh my God, he's the greatest, but because you left it. No man in his right mind wants to do anything but leave a legacy for his family. It doesn't mean that it has to be worldwide or world known. It just means that it's a legacy for his family. No man in his right mind wants to not leave a legacy for his family. So because of that, the relationship you have with yourself, the way you speak to yourself, the way you operate with yourself is key here. It is imperative here. It is what you must do here, because if you do not do this here, what will happen is you will get older and have to do it there. A lot of men can attest to this, that they didn't start to get it together until they got older, because they figured they had time. When they were younger, they figured they had time. If you're a younger man, right now you're listening to this, understand this. You are not a man until you have let go of boy ways. What are boy ways? Being childish, being petty, being uncircumstantial, being greedy, being hasty, being haughty, being prideful, lacking love, lacking empathy, lacking compassion, lacking everything that a human being is made up of. Being a man, right, is walking in your divine and ultimate purpose. You want to know how to do that? You want to know how to become better at that? You want to know what to do? Talk to that man. Talk to him. There's a man in you. He's waiting on you. And sometimes, just sometimes, that man is waiting on you to talk to that little boy in you first. He's waiting on that. Because that little boy, that little man, he's like, man, we missed some steps. I need you. Once he helps you become more self-aware and loves yourself, now you're really, really, really ready to step into your manhood. Foolishness can no longer surround you. Dumb conversations can no longer be a part of your language. You will kick it out. It will no longer be a part of you. And I'm here to tell you, man, I'm here to tell you that my uncle was a prime example of a man who left stones unturned, who loved, but left stones unturned. And that's not to shame him, but that's to let you know that reality is, once your number is called, you can't go back to those stones. Once your number is called, that's it. And my uncle, Stephen, was a great man. And he still left stones unturned. There were things that he knows, I know, we know that he could have done in order to alleviate a lot of things, in order to not end up in this or in these predicaments. Uncle Steve was a great man, but he also needed the greatness of his own manhood and not defining it based upon anything outside of him. Not football, not women, nothing. Nothing defines your manhood except for you. And if you're allowing things to define your manhood and saying, well, you know, I'm a man, so I gotta do this, that is the biggest mistake. My guy, my man, my people, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate you. Don't leave any stones unturned. Get all your stones unturned. Tie up your loose ends. Forgive who you need to. Love who you need to. Love who you need to. And forgive and let go. And have peace, love, and I ain't gonna do that. But have peace, love, and happiness. Remember the pursuit of happiness at the end when he was in the middle of the street and he was clapping? Strive for that. Be your best self. I love you. Peace.